Around this time of year, I usually start to dive into taking a look at all of the top prospects for the up-and-coming NHL drafts, and I've done it more so over the past couple of years since Detroit has been a lottery team, and I like to see what potential prospects they could end up drafting. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing my first mock draft of the season. I'm only going to be doing the top 8 because I haven't really been researching these guys for a long time, and I'm no expert on all these draft prospects. I recommend NHL Draft Central's channel. He usually starts pumping out the content around draft time, and he does really good prospect analysis, so I'll link his channel down below in the description. And this video isn't me ranking which prospects I think is better than the other necessarily. It's kind of me predicting what the draft order could look like and then taking into consideration some of that team's needs as well when picking their prospects. So with all that out of the way, let's jump right into the video with the number 8 overall pick. Right now I currently have the Anaheim Ducks selecting 8th and them taking 6-foot center Hendrix Lapierre. He's currently playing for Chicoutimi of the QMJHL, and through the first 15 games of the season, he has 2 goals and 14 assists for 16 points. Throughout this season so far for Chicoutimi, Lapierre has shown the ability to be very patient and poised with the puck and then set up his teammates, and that shows. Like I said, he already has 14 assists through the first 15 games of the season. Now, the Anaheim Ducks do already have center prospect Trevor Zegras, who they drafted this past summer, but you can never have too many prospects at the center position, and it is much easier to transfer a center to wing than a winger to center. If Lapierre does pan out at the NHL level, I definitely think he has the potential to be a great two-way centerman and obviously a fantastic playmaker in the middle, and I think that could be exactly what this Anaheim Ducks team needs. As Ryan Getzlaf, who has been their number 1 center for many years now, is kind of getting up there in age, and it's soon going to be time for him to take a backseat to some of these young kids, and a guy like Lapierre could be the perfect player to step into that role if he does pan out well. Next up, at number 7, I have the Chicago Blackhawks drafting Cole Perfetti. He's yet another centerman, 5'10", 180 pounds, currently playing for the Saginaw Spirit of the Ontario Hockey League. Now, last year, as a 16-year-old rookie in the OHL, Cole Perfetti had a fantastic year with 37 goals and 37 assists for 74 points in 63 games. And so far this year, Cole Perfetti has taken that up a notch, as through the first 19 games of the season, he already has 6 goals and 26 assists for 32 points and could be well on his way to having a 100-point season. Now, I have him going to the Hawks at the number 7 spot because I feel like the Hawks at this point are just going to go with the best player available, and considering the players I have drafted ahead of Perfetti, I think at the 7th spot he is exactly that, the best player available. Now, the Blackhawks, along with their solid veteran core, have some great youngsters as well, guys like Kirby Dach, who's having a solid rookie season, Adam Boakfist as well, and then guys like Alex DeBrincat and Dylan Strome too, and I think adding Cole Perfetti to that young core would just make them that much more set up for the future and to finally get out of this hole and eventually make it back into the playoffs. Moving on now to the 6th overall pick, I have the New Jersey Devils selecting Lucas Raymond, currently playing for Frölunda HC of the Swedish Hockey League. Through the first 12 games of the season, Raymond has 1 goal and 2 assists for 3 points for a rating of +4, and obviously those aren't the numbers that jump out at you like guys like Cole Perfetti and obviously the players that play in the Canadian Hockey League that are going to be drafted in the top 10, but remember, Raymond is playing against men in one of the top leagues in Sweden. Raymond is a little bit undersized on the wing, as he is just 5'10" and 165 pounds, but what we saw from the last couple of NHL drafts, I don't think GMs are going to let talented smaller players slip by anymore, especially since Cole Caulfield is looking like an absolute steal by the Canadians. Now, I have the Devils selecting Raymond at the number 6 spot because they already have young centermen like Nico Hischier and Jack Hughes, both former number 1 overall picks, and I think adding a prospect like Lucas Raymond through the draft who has so much upside and potential to be a dynamic winger at the NHL level, they're not going to let that slip by. So that's why I have him at number 6 to the Devils. Next up, at the number 5 spot, I have the Detroit Red Wings selecting 17-year-old goaltender Yaroslav Askarov. Askarov is currently playing for SKA St. Petersburg of the VHL, and through the first 11 games of the season has a 2.39 goals against and a .916 save percentage. Now, over the past couple of months, there has been a lot of buzz around Askarov, and some people even labeling him as the best Russian goaltending prospect of all time, and him potentially even being a top 3 pick in the 2020 draft. Now, me being a Red Wings fan, if the Wings miss out on Lafreniere or Quinton Byfield, I 100% want Askarov because he looks like a can't-miss goaltending prospect, and right now, Detroit doesn't really have any young goaltenders that look like they're going to be the starter of the future. And if some people think this is a little bit of an off-the-board pick, Steve Yzerman has shown in previous drafts that he's not afraid to go off the board to get the player that he wants. Moving on now to the number 4 pick, I have the Columbus Blue Jackets drafting left winger Alexander Holtz Holtz, currently playing in the Swedish Hockey League. Through the first 15 games of Holt's season, he has 4 goals and 2 assists for 6 points, but like I mentioned with Raymond, these aren't numbers that will jump out at you, but you have to remember he is playing against some of the best competition in his country. Now, even though the Blue Jackets have been a relatively competitive team in the NHL up until this point, I definitely think they're going to continue to slide a little bit, and that is why I have them drafting 4th overall. And honestly, for the Blue Jackets, I think that's the best case scenario. They want to get a top pick and start building up that young core that already consists of the likes of Zach Werenski, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and Seth Jones. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Columbus does pick ahead of the Red Wings and they do select Askarov, because in net they don't really have that blue chip prospect, because I'm not quite sure how much faith they have in Korpisalo to be their future starter. But if they want to go best player available, I think at the number 4 spot at this point in time, it's got to be Alexander Holtz, and them getting him at number 4, I think you're getting a fantastic player for the future. And now at the number 3 spot, I have the Minnesota Wild selecting Anton Lundell. He was born October 3rd, 2001, so he's already 18 years old and one of the older players in this draft class. But if you were to ask me, behind Byfield and behind Lafreniere, who's the 3rd best prospect in the draft, I think right now I would have to go with Anton Lundell. So far this season, he's been playing fantastic in the Liga as an 18-year-old with 5 goals and 5 assists for 10 points through the first 17 games of the season. And for a team like the Minnesota Wild and drafting this high, I think you gotta go best player available, because their only blue chip prospects right now, it seems like, are Matthew Boldy and Kirill Kaprizov. And this Minnesota team, I think, are going to be in for a rough couple of years, and this is really going to be the start of the rebuild, but I think drafting a guy like Anton Lundell, that's a pretty good place to start in terms of stocking up on young prospects for the future. Next up, drafting 2nd overall, I have the Los Angeles Kings, and no surprise here, selecting Quinton Byfield. Byfield is a 17-year-old centerman currently playing for the Sudbury Wolves of the Ontario Hockey League, and Byfield is a very young 17-year-old, as he won't be turning 18 until August 19th. And him being such a young player just makes what he's doing right now in the Ontario Hockey League that much more impressive. Last season, as a 16-year-old in his rookie season, Byfield put up 29 goals and 32 assists for 61 points, and this season he has taken that to a whole nother level with 14 goals and 25 assists for 39 points through the first 21 games of the season. At this point, Byfield is the consensus number 2 pick in the 2020 draft, and I honestly can't really see that changing. And it seems like this is the case every year, where you have the can't miss guy at the number 1 spot and a very good player at number 2 as well, and then things kind of just get crazy in the draft after the first 2 picks. And for a team like the LA Kings, who have some good prospects, guys like Gabriel Velarde, Alex Turcotte, who they drafted last year, and Carl Grundstrom, who looks very good, none of those guys really scream franchise talent, and I think a guy like Quinton Byfield is exactly what this Los Angeles team needs to really push them forward towards the future. And now, no surprise here, I have the Senators drafting Alexis Lafreniere with the number 1 overall pick. Lafreniere has had an amazing and just flat out ridiculous career so far in the QMJHL for Rimouski. The 2017-18 season had 80 points in 60 games, followed that up with 105 points last year, and this season he's on pace for even more, as through the first 20 games of the season he already has 45 points. Lafreniere is the surefire number 1 overall pick for the 2020 draft, and throughout the season I really can't see anything happening that changes that. And if you were to ask most people what NHL team needs a potential generational talent the most, I think everybody's answer honestly has to be the Ottawa Senators. Sure, they have guys like Brady Tkachuk and Thomas Chabot, but those 2 guys can't turn this franchise around on their own, and I think a guy like Lafreniere would be the perfect player to come in and really start to build this franchise around. So now to finish out the video, let's go over a quick little recap of my top 8. I had Hendrix Lapierre going 8th overall to the Anaheim Ducks, Cole Perfetti going 7th to the Blackhawks, Lucas Raymond at the 6th spot to the Devils, the Russian goaltender Askarov at 5 to the Red Wings, Alexander Holtz at 4 to the Blue Jackets, Anton Lundell at number 3 to the Wild, and then obviously Byfield at number 2 to the Kings, and Alexis Lafreniere number 1 to the Ottawa Senators. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of guys watching this video that are much more educated on these guys than I am, so make sure to let me know down in the comment section below, what is your top 10 for the 2020 draft looking like right now? So that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. Like I said at the start of the video, make sure to go subscribe to NHL Draft Central. I will link him down below in the description. He posts a lot of really good in-depth analysis on all of the top prospects before every single draft. And again, I'm no expert on these guys, but I did think this would be a pretty fun video to make, so make sure to let me know down in the comment section below, what does your top 10 for the 2020 NHL Draft look like right now? And with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy, please make sure to drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I will see you guys all in the next video.